I knew it all along, you son of a bitch. And I'm finna beat your Don't play with me. I seen that my own eyes. And I'm finna dust his And I mean that. And I mean that you been lying, ho. You a liar. And I'm finna beat you now, bitch. Don't ever hang up when I'm yelling. Don't ever hang up.
In November 2022, Shakiyah Perkins shot out of the house she shared with her wife, Cornisha Perkins, stuck to her car, and came back with a gun in her left hand.
That right there is security camera footage of a woman walking out to her car, picking up a gun, walking back in, and ending her wife's life right in front of their baby. What those cameras could not show you, though, is the full year of terror that led up to that front door, and the question nobody in that courtroom was ever able to answer. Why did the system see every single warning sign and still do nothing? Cornisha Butler was 31 years old when she was killed. Her people called her Nisha, and if you had spent even 5 minutes around her, you would understand why everybody who knew her loved her the way they did.
What do you say?
Y'all finna go.
Don't you see us leaving this motherfucker, bro? He bullshitting on God. That man bullshit. What? What's up, gang?
You slow, it don't matter.
You slow too. Damn, slow too. That's why we friends.
Nah, but like what y'all just say, I'm
Wanna be dyke ass hoe.
Yeah, you made me cry out there.
You did what? What you do? Michelle? What you do, Keith? Ugh. She has satellites.
She was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, but around 2020, she packed up everything she had, grabbed her 4 kids, and moved to Atlanta, chasing something better for her family. She later talked about that move like it was the best decision she ever made. And she really did build something in that city. She was running her own tax preparation business, helping people in her community get their money right during tax season. She had also started Get Body Aesthetics, a beauty and body care business focused on helping women heal and recover after procedures like BBL surgeries. Cornisha was also in talks to become a brand ambassador for a hair company, and on top of all of that, she had her eye on a pink food truck she was planning to buy and add to her portfolio. Pink was her signature. It was in everything she touched. Then, in October of 2022, just a few weeks before everything came crashing down, Cornisha bought her first home in Atlanta, a 5-bedroom house for her and her 4 children. This is a woman who left her hometown with nothing but her kids and her drive, moved to a new city, built multiple businesses from the ground up, and bought herself a home on her own terms without depending on anybody. She was that girl. And it was precisely that kind of independence, that confidence, that refusal to shrink that sent Shakiyah Perkins completely over the edge. Shakiyah Perkins, known in some circles as SRT Kayla, was 25 years old at the time of the murder. She and Cornisha had been together since around 2016, back when they were both still in Memphis. They moved to Atlanta together around 2020, and in the beginning, at least from what you could see on social media, things looked like a whole love story. They were posting matching outfits, calling each other wives, showing the world what looked like two women genuinely happy together and building a life side by side. But that picture started falling apart almost as soon as they settled in Atlanta. The people closest to Cornisha would later say that Shakia had always been jealous and controlling, but that those tendencies got much worse as Cornisha started leveling up in life. The more Nisha grew and succeeded, the more Shakia seemed to hate it.
I knew it all along, you son of a bitch. And I'm finna beat your ass, Cornisha. Don't fucking play with me, fool. I seen that shit with my own eyes. And I'm finna dust your ass, bitch. And I mean that. And I mean that, bitch. You been lying, ho. You a liar. And I'm finna beat you now, bitch. Don't ever hang up when I'm yelling. Don't ever hold up. Don't ever hang up my face.
She ain't finna answer me.
She know it.
You have reached
I called. Baby, I called.
She been saying she stop calling my phone.
reached the voice.
The businesses were growing, the money was coming in, the house was on the way. And Shakia, who had no known career of her own and was not building anything close to what Cornisha was building, could not stomach watching her former partner win without her. By 2021, the relationship was done. Cornisha was finished. But Shakia was not willing to accept that, and that refusal to let go is really where this whole story begins. It started on September 13th when Shakia used her actual car as a weapon. She rammed straight into Cornisha's vehicle while they were both driving on a public road, trying to force her off it. Just 2 days after that, on September 15th, Shakia rolled up to Cornisha's home with no invitation and kicked the front door clean off the frame. She later said she was there to see if Cornisha had somebody in the house with her. Then came September 25th, and this is the one that should have locked Shakia up long before November of 2022 ever came around. In the middle of the night, she set fire to 2 of Cornisha's cars, a Mercedes-Benz and a Jeep, both sitting in the driveway. The fire got bad enough that it spread and started damaging the house itself while Cornisha's children were inside. And on top of all the physical attacks, Shakia was sending Cornisha text messages the whole time that read less like messages from a hurt ex and more like a written-out plan. Cornisha took those screenshots straight to the police. One message said, "Soon you will be dead and I'll be in jail and that's fine." Another one said, "I'm going for 1st degree, not 2nd degree. Stamp that." By October of 2021, Shakia Perkins was arrested and hit with 4 felony charges: aggravated assault, criminal damage to property, terroristic threats, and 1st-degree arson. Cornisha also went and got a restraining order that required Shakia to stay at least 200 yards away from her at all times. The evidence was all there. The paper trail, screenshots, and police reports were there, and not one piece of it would be enough to save her life. When Shakia appeared before the court in Fulton County that October, the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, led by Fonnie Willis, came to that hearing ready to argue that Shakia should not get any bond at all. The prosecutors who specialized in domestic violence cases knew exactly how dangerous this situation was, and they made sure to say it in court.
A statement then attributed to Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis said, in part, "My office opposed bond in this case. Cases involving domestic violence often involve ongoing danger to the victim."
The DA's office put their opposition on record. They laid out what Shakia had already done: the car attack, the arson, the broken door, the texts promising murder. and the judge set the bond at $70,000 and let her walk. $70,000 across 4 felony charges that included setting somebody's cars on fire and sending death threats in writing. Shakia paid it, walked out of that jail, and went right back to doing exactly what she had been doing before the arrest, ignoring every court order and staying in Cornisha's life no matter what any piece of paper said. The restraining order was just a document to her. The 200-yard rule meant nothing. She kept circling, and the system that was supposed to stop her did not. Now, here's something we have to talk about honestly because it is part of the story and it matters. Around Valentine's Day of 2022, Cornisha went back to Shakia. Not for long, but it happened. Even after everything that went down in September, even after the arson and the car ramming and the texts, they tried to make it work one more time. Shakia was posting about it on social media, putting up Valentine's Day content, acting like things were good between them. Before anybody starts blaming Cornisha for that, I need you to understand how this actually works. Abusive relationships do not follow the logic that most people apply from the outside. People who have never been in that situation tend to think the answer is simple, that you just leave and you stay gone. But that's not how it goes. People leave, they come back, they leave again, they hold on to the memory of who that person was before everything went bad, and they keep trying to find that version of them again. That brief reunion didn't last long before Cornisha was done again, and this time she meant it. She was in her new house, running her businesses, raising her kids, and actively building a life that did not include Shakia. But Shakia had apparently decided during the reconciliation that Cornisha would always come back to her, so when the breakup stuck this time and Cornisha kept moving forward without her, something in Shakia cracked. For the next several months after the final breakup, Shakia was still on bond from the 2021 charges and still technically under a no-contact order, but none of that slowed her down. She kept calling, showing up, and finding ways to stay in Cornisha's space no matter how many times she was told to back off. And around that same time, word got back to Shakia that Cornisha might have started seeing somebody new, possibly a man after the breakup. Whether that was fully true or not, it got to Shakia, and it destroyed whatever little bit of control she had left over herself. Cornisha was texting her friends and letting people know what was going on. She was telling the people closest to her that things were picking back up again, that Shakia had tried to run her off the road a second time, that the harassment was getting worse. At least one friend told her straight up to get out for the sake of her kids, to leave and not look back. But Cornisha wasn't some woman without options who had nowhere to go. She had a house she owned, businesses she was running, and 4 children depending on her. On November 15, 2022, the night before everything happened, Shakia put up a post on Facebook that was vague but heavy. Something about starting fresh and leaving the past behind. Looking at it now, knowing what came the very next morning, it reads less like a hopeful status update and more like a woman who had already made her decision and was quietly saying goodbye to the idea that things could ever go differently. The next morning, Cornisha woke up and did what she always did. She got her 3 daughters dressed and ready and walked them off to the school bus. Just a regular Tuesday morning for a mother taking care of her babies. She watched them off and turned back towards her house. Shakia was already there, waiting for her. An argument started up between them, and Shakia stormed back out of the house. And then, the security camera outside caught everything that came next. She went to her car, reached in, grabbed a handgun with her left hand, and walked back into the house. Shakia shot Cornisha multiple times in the head and body. Cornisha was pronounced dead right there at the scene. Her 2-year-old son was in that room and he saw all of it. Shakia was arrested within hours and booked into the South Fulton jail on charges of murder, possession of a firearm, and cruelty to children. South Fulton Police Chief Keith Meadows spoke publicly about what happened, and he did not soften it for anybody. He said, "Should Cornisha Butler still be alive? You know, I would think so. And then he went further than that. We do feel the court system let us down. We see one case after another where the victim actually reached out to us and we responded appropriately. Shakia Perkins sat inside the Fulton County Jail for close to 3 years while the legal process played out. She entered a not guilty plea at her first court appearance at the end of November of 2022, which is standard no matter how clear the evidence is. And the case moved into a long stretch of pre-trial proceedings running from 2023 all the way through 2024. The evidence sitting against her was overwhelming by any measure. Prosecutors had the security camera footage that showed Shakia walking to her car and coming back in with the gun. They had the 2021 texts where she had literally written out that she was planning first-degree murder. They had all 3 police reports from the September attacks. They had the autopsy showing multiple gunshot wounds to the head and body, and when police questioned Shakia right after the arrest, she confirmed what happened. She admitted to it and claimed it came from jealousy and anger, but she admitted it. Her lawyers tried to get some of the evidence thrown out, arguing privacy issues around the text messages and the camera footage, but those requests were denied by the court. A mental health check done in 2024 came back finding that Shakia was fully capable of standing trial, which ended any chance of using a mental illness defense. There was no realistic way out for her. That tape alone closed every door she might have tried to walk through.
Pretty soon after we showed that video, she decided to take the plea.
He says last month Shakia Perkins pled guilty to murder and more.
In July of 2025, Shakia Perkins stood in Fulton County Superior Court and changed her plea to guilty. She admitted to all 3 charges: first-degree murder, having a firearm while committing a crime, and first-degree cruelty to a child. As part of the deal she made with prosecutors, the charges from 2021, the arson, the assault, the terroristic threats, were all dropped and closed without a conviction. In exchange for that, Shakia received a sentence of life in prison with the chance of parole after 30 years, which means she could ask to be released around 2055 at the earliest. Cornisha's family was in that courtroom when it happened. They gave statements about what it has been like raising 4 children who lost their mother, about what Nisha meant to the people who loved her, and about how no sentence could ever fix the hole that was left behind. Some of them walked out feeling that parole eligibility was too generous for what Shakia did, and honestly, nobody who heard the full story would have a hard time understanding why they felt that way. The defense lawyer had something to say during the proceedings too, and I need you to hear this part.
My client has never been in real trouble before. You know, this was a toxic relationship that I think both families just wished that they had gone their separate ways, and it's just not what happened. They kept trying to work it out.
That framing is insulting to everything Cornisha went through, and everybody in that room knew it. This case opened up a real conversation in Georgia about how the bail system works and whether it actually protects people in domestic violence situations, especially in same-sex relationships, where the resources, the legal awareness, and even the community support have historically not been at the same level as what is available to people in straight relationships. The numbers behind this are not easy to sit with. People in same-sex relationships experience domestic violence at rates that are just as high and sometimes even higher than people in straight relationships, but fewer of those cases get reported. Fewer resources exist to help the people involved, and the legal system has not always been built with those situations in mind. Organizations like Marcy's Law Georgia pointed to Cornisha's case specifically as an example of how the protections that are supposed to exist on paper completely fall apart in real life, even when the victim has done everything correctly. DA Fonnie Willis used the case to push for something concrete to change.
We here in Fulton County need to do what they've done all across the country and create a family justice center. So the victims here, when they are going through this abuse, they have somewhere to go and resources to help them to rebuild their lives.
A family justice center is basically a place where a woman in Cornisha's situation could walk through one door and find everything she needs in one place. legal help, a safe place to stay, someone to talk to, a real plan to get out safely, all without having to figure out which department handles which part of her crisis and hope those departments are even talking to each other. As of now, that center does not exist in Fulton County the way it needs to. Chief Meadows put it simply after the murder: violent behavior is progressive. Every single September incident was one step further up that staircase, and the court system had a real opportunity to stop Shakia on any one of those steps and chose not to. Cornisha's funeral was held on December 3rd, 2022 at R.S. Lewis & Sons Funeral Home in Memphis, the city she came from before she went and built her whole world in Atlanta. The service was full of pink because that was her color, her signature, the thing that showed up in everything she cared about, and the people who loved her made sure her final day was surrounded by it. A GoFundMe was set up for her children in the weeks after the murder, and the community showed up for it, though the page has since come down. The people who shared her story online, who kept talking about what happened to her, made sure her kids were not forgotten in the chaos right after she was taken.
4 months ago, I want to say, and when my dad passed, me and my sister made a promise, you know. We got so close. We was close before then, but we got so close. Like, we never went a morning without talking. We laughed. She called me like all the time, y'all. So, it's really.
That is one of Cornisha's siblings talking in the days right after losing her, and that pain in their voice is the kind that no court sentence can touch. Nothing about a guilty plea or a life sentence brings those 4 children their mother back. No legal outcome undoes what happened on that regular Tuesday morning when she put her girls on the bus and came back to find Shakia waiting. Do you think Cornisha should have left everything behind and run for her life? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.
Hey, look, check this out. Let me tell you something. You better love me while you got me. You better damn love me while you got me. Because the worst thing you can do is hurt me and let me get over you. Once you hurt me and I get over you and I get over all the hurt, I'm telling you, that peace gonna kill you. Hey, look, check this out.